Well, hello there. You're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time to see what's making the headlines then, with the columnist at the Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire, and the former First Minister of Northern Ireland, Baroness Arlene Foster. Welcome. Great to see both of you. Thank you. So let's take a look at the front pages, shall we? And one story is dominating. The Financial Times leading with the resignation of Richard Hughes after the accidental early release of analysis of Rachel Reeves's budget. The Guardian's front page also focusing on the resignation of the chair of the OBR following an inquiry into the budget leak. The Eye sticking with the Hughes resignation, saying he was forced out of his position after contradicting the Chancellor over the budget black hole. The Times say the OBR chief resigned after being publicly rebuked by Rachel Reeves and Sir Keir Starmer. The Telegraph's headline, Reeves clings on as OBR chief is silenced. Similar headline on the front page of the Daily Mail, the fall guy, they suggest, for Reeves's budget lies. Front of the Express, meanwhile, it states that Keir Starmer has vowed to seek closer ties with the EU as he blames Brexit for the economy under Labour. The Daily Mirror leads on the Post Office Horizon scandal with the news that police could bring corporate manslaughter charges where former Post Office staff took their own lives. The Sun says that a former England and Premier League footballer has been arrested at Stansted Airport on suspicion of attempted rape. The Metro is leading with former England striker Gary Lineker clashing with Tommy Robinson after the right-wing activist shared a video of Lineker with a young woman on holiday, which ended up being the ex-footballer's daughter-in-law. So let's talk to Kevin and Arlene. Welcome to both of you. This has been a fascinating few days, has it not? Which ends in the resignation of the chief of the Office for Budget Responsibility after what was an extraordinary leak ahead of the budget last Wednesday. Is he the fall guy? We'll come on to that. But the leak itself and the report into it was in itself really interesting.
Yeah, well, it's been an interesting couple of months before the budget. I've never known so much speculation or briefing from the Treasury, so-called leaks elsewhere. Some of it will have been authorised, some have unauthorised, some of it was journalists will have sources, whether they're good or bad. A lot of journalists were reporting as fact things that turned out not to be true. But nevertheless, he's gone now. Richard Hughes, after it was extraordinary, just an hour before the Chancellor's getting up and getting on her feet, and there's the document. I can't remember anything like that. Of course, an inquiry has found previous budgets have been available, if you could guess the URL code. And I think he's done the honourable thing. And there's a lot of praise for him. For instance, he's probably never heard so much praise. And Ruth Curtis from the Resolution Foundation, a left-of-centre think tank, medium and low-income families are really where its researchers, says he leaves big shoes to fill. And it will be that question: has he done the honourable thing? Yes. Has he done the decent thing? Yes. Is he the fall guy? I would say he's not, because the criticism is still coming at Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor.
I will ask Arlene about that in a moment. But first of all, in this FT article, the fact that this OBR document on the budget was attempted to be accessed multiple times. The first successful request to access the document was made at 11:35 a.m. last Wednesday. She took to her feet just after 12:30, didn't she? So that's nearly an hour before. It's supposed to come out after the budget. From an IP address that had unsuccessfully tried 32 times over the course of the morning. And the Oxford University professor who advised on this review said the high number of attempts to access the document from one address raised concerns that the person or people may have been aware an early upload was possible. Therefore, it might have been available other times, or reports at other times been available. So all of that was really interesting. Moving on to
I should know. I would have tried myself.
Well, I mean, we do have a national cybersecurity centre, so I'm wondering why we don't know what's going on. I mean, this sort of thing is going to happen more and more, not just from people within our own country, but of course from other actors in other states trying to access what we're doing. And so this is really, really important, actually, the fact that it was accessed and the security wasn't tight enough to stop it from being accessed. Maybe they thought it was too dull for people to be interested, but actually it's not. It's actually very important for the market.
It seems a very basic error rather than some great espionage. Somebody just knows if you guess the code, you'll get it.
Yeah. But the point is, if they can do this with the OBR review, what else can can they do it with? Whether that's
free.
Well, yeah, you know, in terms of defence strategy, in terms of really secret documents that aren't supposed to be accessed. Somebody out there is accessing government documents in this way.
You're not surely suggesting that the budget was dull? No, obviously not. Let's go to the Times and the suggestion that the OBR boss quits after, you know, the Prime Minister came out and said, oh, it's very serious, very serious. But the point is that it's the very same, you know, group and organisation that outlined a timeline to show what they had said to the Treasury and the Chancellor about whether or not we had any money in our coffers. So did he go because he had pulled them up, raised allegations of them misleading the public or even lying, as we'll see other papers use? You know, is that really why?
Well, I think this is very... We have to actually step back to November. I think it's November the 4th when we had that statement from Rachel Reeves quite early in the morning, and people were wondering, why are we being called to Downing Street to listen to this? And it was all very downbeat about where the economy was at and what have you. Then the OBR chief actually took a very different step. He actually wrote to the Treasury Select Committee and said, well, actually, we do have headroom here, and sort of contradicted her. And then we have the situation of this leak happening, and he, for all intents and purposes, has fallen on his sword because of the leak. However, there are other interpretations of that, and if you look at the I paper, as was shown earlier on, it's saying that he was forced out after he contradicted the Chancellor. So there's different takes on this, and I suppose what we'll have to see now, what happens in the next couple of days, has he been silenced? Or are we going to hear from him?
Well,
that's interesting.
the Times has picked up on Keir Starmer didn't back him.
Yes.
And that was very noticeable. And you thought...
neither did the Chancellor, actually.
Yeah, your position is really untenable, and he's done the right thing, otherwise he would have been a lame duck. Was it fair? Well, it was certainly fair on the leak, I thought. Look, you run a small organisation. That's a really, really terrible mistake. Somebody's got to take responsibility.
I mean, it's not even a leak, is it? Someone
it's given away.
And someone found a way to access it.
But you run that organisation. You could say politicians maybe should do that a bit more of their cabinet secretaries, and there are mistakes in their departments, and they don't take responsibility in the same way.
But the more important question, surely, is what the Daily Mail's talking about, is whether Rachel Reeves misled all of us.
Well, she did. No, of course she misled. I think the question is whether she misled or lied.
So which do you think it is then?
I think I'm still around misled, but I'm prepared to be. I'll wait for Hughes to take his revenge, because of course the Telegraph say he's been silenced. No, he's not been silenced. He's freer than ever to speak out. But
he's not appearing before the Treasury Select Committee on Tuesday, which he had been due to. Yeah, but which would have been very interesting.
They can call him.
OK. Fine.
They have it in their power to call him.
I think the Treasury Select Committee will be very interesting tomorrow, because Rachel Reeves is attending tomorrow, and she will have to face politicians as to what this is all about. Even today in the House of Commons and in the House of Lords, there's been debates around whether she misled or lied. We had the Liberal Democrats, who are usually in a very sensible place, calling it an omni-shambles in the House of Lords, and back to the thick of it and all of that sort of thing. So I don't think this is over. I think this is going to run for a long time, and I don't think this gentleman... this is an establishment guy. I mean, he's worked in government for a long time and then took on this job 5 years ago. It's not as if he's somebody from outside.
But what is most extraordinary is... I'm used over decades of chancellors covering up and hiding and misleading us about bad news. But this was good news.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is...
So why...
I think
why promote your doom loop when you could actually have said, actually, we've got $4 billion in our coffers, you know, but I need a bit more headroom. In fact, they're too scared to say, that's right. I have to put taxes on you because I need headroom.
Income tax receipts have risen. The economy has done slightly better than I feared. All I can think is she thought she had to say it was grim in order to justify tax rises through extending the freeze. But at one time she was thinking of putting up income tax by 2p, national insurance down by 2p, would have given her another net gain. So she can... And most of these tax rises come in later in the Parliament, they're not for a few years. So when we get to the general election, which is going to be held by August 2029, all of a sudden she's got some money to spend and tax increases, and say we turned it round. And if you say the economy is doing well, it's hard to justify new tax increases. If you say it's doing badly because there's a black hole, then you can justify them. So that's all I can think. She wanted to fill up piggy banks.
Plus, to my view, she doesn't want to say, I'm increasing welfare spending, which of course she's doing. She is increasing welfare spending by a significant amount, and despite what the Chancellor, or despite what the Prime Minister was saying this morning about dealing with welfare and getting young people back to work, which I absolutely agree with, in actual fact, they're increasing the amount of money they're spending on welfare.
Yeah, although taking 500,000 kids out of poverty is a very small part of that.
And you and I agree on that. We do agree with that.
In families. And actually,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about others.
In 2030, welfare spending will still be a smaller part of the economy GDP than it was in 2013.
Yeah. And actually, you know, Ed Conway showed in his data, actually, it was the reversal of those welfare spending elements. Yes. That actually caused some of the money to come down
some
anyway.
Of it, yeah, certainly.
Some of it, anyway. Just quickly, The Guardian too, OBR chair quits after inquiry into early release of budget document. But let's talk about the Prime Minister who was at the Guildhall today, the Lady Mayor now, the Lady Mayor's banquet, and he was talking about European Union. Now, this has been fascinating. He said it earlier today as well, about actually, although the Brexit vote was fair and democratic, it was missold. And it was misleading. I thought he was talking about his budget for a minute.
Like the budget. Yeah, exactly.
But the point is he shifting politics because he's given up on those people who voted Labour, who will vote Reform in the next election, and he's going for the Greens and the Lib Dem vote, you know, and he's pivoting towards the European Union for political reasons, because clearly he's always been
he's always been a
pro-European.
He's always been a Europhile, and this is just continuing on what he started, and you can see that. But, you know, there's no talk there about the border in the Irish Sea between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which he should be focused on trying to deal with, instead of which he's focusing on closer links with the EU. If he could tell the EU to sort that border out and stop 1.8 million people being disenfranchised, that would be really, really good. That's what I would like to see. I did absolutely back Brexit.
Well, you created it.
And you still...
I created it. I created it all on my own, without 17.4 million people backing me.
But you lost the vote in Northern Ireland, because like Scotland did voted to stay.
It didn't actually say on the ballot. It didn't actually say on the ballot. Do you want Northern Ireland to leave the European Union? It was, did you want to leave the European Union as the United Kingdom as a whole? And the point is, we haven't dealt with it as a whole. We have scrapped it. We have dealt with it in little bits instead of dealing with it as the United Kingdom as a whole.
I chaired a meeting at the TUC with other parties from Northern Ireland who could all see the problem that was going to happen, which is why Northern Ireland voted to stay. But you're right, it was an aggregate vote.
This was a problem created post-Brexit, not because of Brexit. It was a protocol.
I think the reason he made in his speech was mainly about China, actually, when I listened to it. But of course, he knows Brexit is not working and it's unpopular.
It's not working because he's not dealing with it.
But we saw he's already come up with one set of revisions to the relationship, and he'll want to come back for more because he's with public opinion now. So I think
not Arlene.
Well, sorry, not Arlene. with some very honourable.
Well, listen, we'll see at the next election. We will see at the next election. We will see at the next election whether he's with public opinion or not.
Well, I think that'll be more than just.
All right.
I think it'll be more issues than just the European Union. But he's on the right side.
Well, he's making the European Union an issue. And that's very difficult water for him if his biggest challenger is going to be reform.
I'm not so sure now.
It's really quite nice to go back to Brexit, weirdly. It's
No, we
love it, don't we, Kevin?
Even we like a good barney, but I think I just keep it in context.
Listen, coming up, we will be discussing David Lammy's plans to axe jury trials. Is that back on the agenda? Back in a moment.
That was good.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
Historic day here today. Congratulations, this is a huge moment. But what happens now?
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No, he did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy. Thank you.
Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
Founding principle of the alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, joined again by Kevin Maguire and Baroness Arlene Foster. Kevin, should we go to the Daily Telegraph front page? Lammy on jury trials. What's been said this time then? Because he's writing for the Telegraph.
He is the Justice Secretary and Deputy Prime Minister. Of course, that memo was leaked about really curtailing many jury trials because of huge backlogs. And he's now citing the Magna Carta, which promoted and celebrated and introduced jury trials. He's now using it to also justify getting rid of them by saying it also spoke about not delaying justice. So the king couldn't lock you up in a castle for 20 years without a trial. I think good luck with this one.
Somebody's been very creative at the Department of Justice, I have to say.
I don't think he's going to get very far with this.
Trying to argue this.
We all think of the Magna Carta as limiting the power of the king, but that included having you found guilty of something.
I can understand his frustration with the delays because it is really bad at the moment. If you're a rape victim, you could wait a couple of years before you go to trial. I mean, that means your life is on hold. Totally on hold for those couple of years. So I do understand his frustration, but getting rid of jury trials in the way that he's talking about, I think will meet whole-scale opposition, not just in the House of Lords, which it will, but also in the Commons. I think you will find people, who will say, no, sorry, this is not the way to go forward. And what it actually means is, normally when you have something that's triable either way in the Magistrates' Court or in the High Court or in the Crown Court, what happens is you can decide, do you want it dealt with summarily, as it's called, or do you want to go up to the Crown Court? Now they're saying that'll be up to the judge. It's not actually going to be up to you as the defendant. So that's what he's talking about cutting out. I
think it's if you over 5 years potential sentence, you have a jury trial less, you can't. But the intermediate courts without juries, where magistrates, of course, don't have juries. but were proposed by Lord Leveson, who also wants a very senior, esteemed judge who also had an inquiry in newspapers, which was a bit difficult for us. And also David Gawke, a former Conservative Justice Secretary, also proposed these. But you, in Northern Ireland, you don't have...
We had diplock courts during the height of the Troubles, and in 2007 they weren't done away with, but if there is a very high-profile terrorist trial, for example, the DPP, the department, can still ask for a diplock court trial if they feel that witnesses or juries are subject to intimidation. Mostly terrorist cases, yeah.
Arlene, why don't you pick up and do The Guardian as well for us, if you don't mind, which is this pharmaceutical deal with America. It gives access to British firms selling drugs to America, but the NHS will pay, effectively.
Yeah, so this means that talking about money all the time now, but this will mean that the budget for drugs within the NHS is going to rise considerably, and I think in some cases they're going to pay 25% more for the drugs. But it also, in another paper, I just can't find the one it's actually saying that it's a good news story because we're going to have, boost for Britain, this is the front page of the Times, boost for patients as Britain and US agree zero tariff drug deal. And they're saying we'll have access to drugs that we don't have access to now. So there's two sides to the story, actually.
As Helen Morgan, the Lib Dems health spokeswoman, says, it's a Trump shakedown of the NHS. It's $3 billion, that's what it's all about. Because in the US, they rip off patients. Here, the NHS is able to use its muscle to get a good deal.
Yeah. Yes, in America, for the election, nearly every other advert was something about medicines, to be fair. Both of you, thank you very much indeed. Kevin, Arlene, thank you. Stay there, see you in the 11. Here's the weather, though, now. So unsettled for the rest of the week. Heavy showers or longer spells of rain, but it doesn't look as wet as today. There'll be a dry and quite sunny start for most tomorrow, with temperatures a little above average. There will be showers mainly in the west and near Channel coasts. And the morning looks like staying fine for many. Showers around, though, some heavy risk of hail and thunder, concentrated over southern and western coastal counties. Top temperatures around average. Expected chilly wind, coastal gales possible in the northwest. Showers will become more widespread over southern Britain later. Many eastern parts look fine. Wednesday will be another day for much of Britain. A dry day, rather, not just a day. Coming up next on Sky News at 11, as the row rumbles on over allegedly misleading budget figures, the head of the OBR resigns over the budget leak.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. 4 more years! Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.